Yechi Hamelech Moshiach, long live the King Messiah. My name is Yechi Hamelech, and I am talking to you from the Holy Land, Eretz Yisrael. I'm here to talk about the first prophecy of the Rebbe in Besuras Hageulah. Jewish leader of this generation has a prophecy for all mankind. We are awaiting his revelation, and we would like the whole world to know that this is a global mission and not only a privately run operation by the ultra-Orthodox religious Jews or something like that. The entire world has to know that there's a king, a messenger of God, a prophet, an advisor, which will tell us how to conduct our lives and how all our deeds should be done. The Rebbe has a book called Besuras Hageulah, The Message of Redemption, and in it there are 71 paragraphs. Each of them is like a bomb which explains a huge part of what's happening now in the world, starting 20 years ago up to this present day. I'm going to read the first chapter and explain. It is a prophecy that the Rebbe tells us as a prophet. The Rebbe, the leader of the generation, is a prophet. He's much higher than anybody in this generation. Those who know the Rebbe personally, those who've got blessings from the Rebbe, those who know the Rebbe's connections in government, on a local spiritual level, on every single level, everyone knows that the Lubavitch Rebbe, the Rebbe of Chabad, is the undisputed King Messiah. We just need to reveal it. The people need to come forward. We need to recognize that human beings need God. They need the superpower to run their lives. So let's start the first paragraph. Aleph. I'm going to explain it in English. And the day that it was said was 1990, Chodesh Elul, which is the last month in the Jewish calendar, right before Rosh Hashanah, Parshas Re'eh. It already has been fulfilled, the signs that the sages tell us of the end of the time of the exile and the time of the redemption, which we're going on now. The end of the times of the exile. The Jewish people have been in exile ever since we've been slaves in Egypt. We've been in exile, 4 different exiles: the exile of the Egyptian exile, the Roman exile, the Greek exile, and the Babylonian exile. The Roman exile, the Babylonian exile, and Edom, which is the Roman exile continues now ever since the temple was destroyed. The second temple was destroyed. So now we are in the last exile, the Golus Edom, and the Jewish people have been dispersed throughout the world, throughout the last 2,000 years, and we are closing this exile now, and we have entered the time of the redemption. Including the sign, the Rebbe continues, including the sign in the Yalkut Shimoni, which is brought down, which he brings down from Isaiah, Reish Mem Zayin, Tav Tzadik Tes, Yeshayo, was is Nisparsim Gevarn Lachrena, which has been publicized recently. And how does the prophecy that the Rebbe brings down go? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says, the year that the King Messiah is revealed, all the nations of the world fight with one another. The Persian king fights with the Arab king, and the Arab king goes to Aram to ask him for advice. And all the nations of the world start to tumult and scream and get scared, and they fall on their faces, and they have pains like the pains of birth. And the Jewish people also get scared and worried, and they say, where should we go? Where should we come? Where should we go? Where should we come? And Hashem, and He tells them, my children, do not be scared. Everything I have done only for you. Why are you scared? Don't be scared. The time of your redemption has arrived. And not like the first redemption, the last redemption. the first redemption, you had pain and suffering, and you were under rulerships of other kings afterwards. But in this final redemption, you do not have any pain, or you are not under the kingship of any other kings. And he continues in the Yalkut. Our sages tell us the time when the King Messiah stands on the roof of the Holy Temple, and he tells the children of Israel, and he tells them, humble ones, the time of your redemption has arrived. So shall be for us, the Rebbe continues, that we have nothing to be scared of, because we already have the promise of do not be scared, also in a language of promise, that God is promising, you should not be scared, and the time of your redemption has arrived. And so shall be for us that Moshiach Tzidkenu, the righteous Messiah, should actually arrive and stand already on the roof of the Holy Temple and proclaim and make heard that Moshiach has already arrived. Amen. So shall be the will of God. Now we're going to explain this a little bit because there's a lot of things here that need to be addressed. First of all, the Rebbe says this as a prophecy over 20 years ago. And this was the first time the Arabs started something. And the Rebbe says this prophecy. This is just a small part of the entire discourse, the Rebbe says. And I learned the entire discourse. And in there, the Rebbe also notes that the more Messiah, the King Messiah, will be revealed in the world, the more you will see that Arab nations, the nations in general, and the Arab nations especially, fighting in the world. Meaning, Messiah's revelation is connected to the chaos in the world. The chaos in the world is some kind of a purification, some kind of a eradication of evil within itself. I'm not here to explain that, and the Rebbe does not explain why and how it works. And I'm not sure we're supposed to know how it works. And good people don't want other people to die, no matter who, no matter how. Good people assume and give people the benefit of the doubt that they can repent and change their ways, and through enough education and enough study, they will learn about goodness and kindness and the right way and the humanistic way of living life. However, this is God's world, and if the prophecies which are coming from God basically tell us that the Arab nations are going to be fighting with each other before Messiah arrives, so then we can only understand what's happening around us. God is not exactly asking us, at least this is, God is not asking us what we're thinking. He's just explaining us what's happening around us. But of course, a Jew can pray to change events in the world, and God will listen to him, just like Moses prayed for the Jewish people after the golden calf, when God wanted to destroy the Jewish people, and Moses prayed for them even though they, so to speak, weren't deserving of being saved. But God did listen to Moses, because God does want, and God does like when people are merciful to one another, and God will hear our plea. But this gives us at least an understanding of what's happening in the world. The Arab nations are fighting, and according to this prophecy, not the nations fighting and not the Jewish people will know what is happening. So my tip to you, fellow human beings, is don't try to figure out what's happening in the world with all the fights, because I promise you that even Putin and Obama and Bibi Netanyahu and anyone that's pushing things around, so to speak, they themselves don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. God is playing with their minds and driving them crazy between themselves. They have no idea what they're doing. And the only thing that is certain is that this is the signs of the redemption. Another thing that we said here is that unlike other exiles, there were exiles that followed it, which is a true point. When the Jewish people left Egypt, they were freed from Pharaoh, but before you know it, they were entering another exile because of their sins. and because they listen to the 10 spies, which dissuade them from listening to Moses. So, moving on, this exile is going to be the last exile, and it will not have an exile following it. Right now, we are in the Messianic age. We are in the first Tkufa from between the two Tkufas. We are in the first stage from within two stages. There's the miraculous stage and the natural stage. There is a prophecy that it says, "V'gar ze'evim keves," the wolf will lie with the lamb. So the fact that we're sitting and resting peacefully throughout the world is the parable part, which Maimonides refers to, in the stages of the Messianic era. However, we will see the miraculous era, which we are entering slowly but surely, in the times of Messiah, which will also be a natural evolution into the miraculous era. And at that time, we will actually see wolf and lamb walking together. We have entered a phase in redemption, the times of Messiah, and we are the last generation of exile. We are the first generation of the redemption. We are not going to have any exile following this redemption, and we are not going to have any other kings other than the King Messiah that will rule the Jewish people and the world after this redemption. This redemption is final. With this redemption comes the resurrection of the dead. It also, with this redemption comes eternal life. With this redemption comes the revelation of God in this world, like it says in the verse, "Ki ayin v'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem tzion." Eye to eye, they will see how God returns to Zion. Now, there's another point here. The Rebbe says, "Shana Rabbeinu," our sages say, the time when Messiah arrives, he stands on the holy temple and he says to the Jewish people, "Humble ones, the times of your redemption has arrived." So, some might ask a very simple question. If you see a man standing on the roof of the holy temple, does he need to say that the redemption has arrived? Obviously, the redemption has arrived. And why does it say the roof of the temple? Why can't he just be standing in the temple? The Rebbe explains this and gives us to understand that in the temple there was one part of the temple that wasn't holy, and that was the roof. It did not have the same holiness as the inside of the temple. And when we say that Messiah stands on the roof of the temple, it's referring to the temple which is not in Israel, not in Jerusalem, the temple that has been established in the time of exile, which also makes much more sense than saying that Messiah is standing on the actual temple. Because again, once the temple is built, that is already part of, or if the Jews have gotten to that level, they have already entered a very complicated and intense stage of the Messianic era, in which case it will not be needed to motivate the Jewish people, to encourage them and to tell them, "Humble ones, the time of your redemption has arrived." It will not be a stage of a need for a nechama, for a menachem, for a consolement. It will be a time of rejoicing. Therefore, the Rebbe explains that gagos lo niskatru, like it says in the Talmud, that the roofs of the temple were not holy, and we know that everywhere where the Jews went, Galul Babel Shchina Yimayim, Galul Mitzrayim Shchina Yimayim, wherever the Jews went, the holy presence went with them. God always gave them a leader and always gave them a temple, whether it was a Mishkan, which was a temporary dwelling place the Jews built in the desert, and later was in Shiloh, and eventually they built a temple But even when they were exiled to Babylon, it says that there was Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, the home of our sage in Babylon, which was the first place where the temple moved, the holy presence moved with the Jews into exile. So when the Rebbe says that King Messiah stands on the roof of the Beis Hamikdash, it is referring to the temples which are in exile in the last moments before Messiah, which is going on 770 Eastern Parkway, Brooklyn, New York 11313, United States of America, the home, synagogue, and world headquarters of the Lubavitcher Rebbe King Messiah. May he live forever. So when the Rebbe himself is speaking these words, bringing us this prophecy, and we see how it's being fulfilled, we have a biblical commandment. Navi akim lachem mikar v'chechem. I will rise from within you a prophet, from within your brothers. And we must listen to this prophet, not only because his prophecy came true, but because it is a commandment in the Bible to listen to a prophet that has risen, and obviously is a righteous man, and has said prophecy time and again, which has come fulfilled. Again, I'm stressing, we need to listen to him not because he is a reliable source, because last time what he said happened. We have to listen to him because it is a commandment in the Torah. It's a commandment in the Bible. There's another commandment which is called Minui Melech, crowning a king. Like it says, Som tasim alecha melech, you should put a king upon you. Shetehei emasai alecha, your fear shall be upon him. His fear shall be upon you. And these two aspects of a king and a prophet, a Messiah and a prophet, have for many years not been on the forefront of the Jewish battle for fulfilling God's purpose in this world, so to speak. Because in exile, the Jewish people were being tormented so harshly, and they never had a time when they can settle down and focus, that they weren't looking and they weren't told by their sages at that time that the Messiah is imminent. So they did not try to crown a king or to look for a prophet that they shall listen to. In the meantime, two great nations have been leaking power, so to speak, off of these two commandments. One is the Christian faith, which believes in a Messiah, and the other is the Muslim faith, which believes in a prophet. Obviously, this is a false Messiah and a false prophet, and that the true Messiah is the Jewish Messiah, the real Moshiach. The real Moshiach is the Jewish Messiah, and obviously the nations of the world know that, and they just know that it's in the meantime to prepare them, that they should have some kind of an idea what Messiah is when he's revealed. So God put these plays in action, called Christianity and the Muslim faith. Like it says, our ways are not his ways, our thoughts are not his thoughts. God has his ways of educating the people, even though it might not be in a direct way, it may be in an indirect way. Now, it's like you take the child of the king, and the king has a long pipe, and he's giving water to his son. And there are slaves of the king between the pipe and the king, and the king's son. And they drill holes in the pipe, and they sell the water back to the son. And they make this king's son his slave. This is what's happening now. We have a spiritual leak, which eventually translates to a physical leak of power from these two commandments that the Jewish people are now taking back. We are taking these two commandments back. They were never given to anyone else besides us, but so to speak, we never addressed them properly. Now we will. Now we are. And what this will do is will give a spiritual weakness to the other side, to those who took the spiritual power without permission, so to speak. And what that will do is that will bring the nations of the world to the Jewish people in the normal, proper way, which is that the king's son hands out water to the slaves of the king, and he has no hard feelings or no bad intentions when he does this, whereas the slaves of the king force the child of the king to work for them, and they make him pay him because of their unworthiness of being in charge of such a holy task. So too, God, when he was looking for candidates for who will fulfill the commandments, the Jewish people were the ones who he found. So, we spoke about Messiah, we spoke about a prophet, we spoke about the imminent redemption. This itself, what we spoke till now, should give enough of a reassurance and give people enough room to rest assured that everything that's happening in the world is only in order to prepare the world. Like we said, humble ones, do not be afraid, the time of your redemption has arrived. It is only a time of goodness and kindness, true prosperity and peace. Those who are seeking the truth, those who are not scared of God and are not scared to repent or are not scared to face reality, those who are not living in denial, those are the ones who will be part of the ultimate and complete redemption. There's a category for non-Jews called the righteous Gentiles. And every non-Jew can be part of this category. And all he needs to do is fulfill the 7 laws of Noah. The 7 laws of Noah are for all mankind. And you can see more about that on www.7for770.com. 7for770.com. Over there it explains a little history about the Rebbe, King Messiah Shlita, and it also explains the laws of the 7 laws of Noah, and it also explains what you can do to do your part in goodness and kindness, in adding in good deeds, and your lifestyle should be changed in a way that it should prepare for the ultimate and complete Messiah and the ultimate and complete redemption. Now, just like a body, every part of the body has a special goal. And you cannot expect the hand to help you run too much. You cannot expect the feet to help you cook too much. Each part of the body has a special role. Sometimes people feel that they're not fulfilling enough, they're not helping the world enough because they don't feel the grasp of helping the entire world, especially now that everybody knows the entire world's problems. When you see a problem persisting for so long and you cannot solve it, you feel like you're powerless. The truth is you are, in a way, because God runs the world. But at the same time, if you're doing your small part in your small way, you are fulfilling your part. It's like a small little cell in the body, which his job is to eat up the viruses in the body. So if he does his part, the entire body will tick properly. So too, we all have to know, humanity as a whole, that we need to do our part in adding light and adding goodness and kindness, and for no good reason to love every single human being, to love every single Jew, till self-sacrifice, to be fearful of only God and His messenger Messiah, and to wake up, not be ashamed, proclaim exactly what we want, proclaim exactly what we say, and not be ashamed to ask questions, not be ashamed to think open-mindedly, and keep on learning and educate ourselves about Messiah, learn about Moshiach, Messiah, and to keep going in the direction of our special shlichus, our special duty that we need to do today, which is to greet and to accept upon ourselves the kingship of Messiah. Also important to note that accepting the King Messiah, the Jewish King Messiah, has to be by the people. The King Messiah is for the people, by the people, like the Constitution starts, we the people, just like a real, but just in real life, not in just words. The King Messiah ain't like Napoleon, which went around chopping off people's heads and blowing people's heads off with guns, and anybody that has a problem with that should get shot, and whoever's left are his loyal or forced loyal subjects. The King Messiah is not going to have a military force. He's not going to use warfare at all. He's only going to have judges and advisors. The judges will tell us what we need to do, and the advisors will explain us why we need to do it, till we take it in a personal way, and we feel an attachment to what they are saying. They will explain us why it's not worth it to kill, why it's not worth it to steal, why it's worth it to serve God, why we should listen to the judges in a way that we will take it personally and understand it, and be one with it, and do it wholeheartedly from our self-conscious mind. The world has been refined that humanity is holding on such a level. We can crown a King Messiah, but we need to do it ourselves. What that means is the people need to ask for a Messiah. The reason for that is as I said, He will not be ruling us by force. He will be ruling us because we want Him. And if we don't want Him, He's too good to force His will upon us, even though He knows it's better than the others. But that itself is what gives it. We need to want and we need to crown and proclaim the King Messiah. Here we have a picture of the Rebbe on my charity box, which I have here. And every single person in the world can download a picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, King Messiah Shlita, from Google Images, and you post one on your wall in your house, and you post one outside, and you post the Messiah flag, the Moshiach flag, which that's the logo of the Messiah flag. Check it up on Google, Moshiach, and that's the flag of goodness and kindness, of Messiah, of the true peace, of the ultra-Orthodox rabbinical sages verify that He is the undisputed King Messiah of our day. And we need to publicly proclaim, long live the King. And this has to be part of our prayer and part of our learning. And we need to learn more and know more about the Rebbe, learn his teachings, learn the secrets of the Bible which he has made available recently. To do your part in goodness and kindness, in adding in good deeds, and your lifestyle should be changed in a way that it should prepare for the ultimate and complete Messiah and the ultimate and complete redemption.